now turn up.
What up is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. We're going to be going through two wide receivers that are just right now being underrated, undervalued in rookie dynasty drafts. And so the draft is going to be here in a couple weeks. So we need to make sure that we see where these two wide receivers go and see where these rankings change. But first, if you're new to the channel, we are giving away a Jerry Jeudy signed jersey. Oh, there it is. All you have to do is be a subscriber for a chance to win. When we hit 1K, which might not be too long from now, we'll be giving it away to one of you guys. So, two wide receivers again that have been supremely underrated, and one of them is actually falling off the boards. Not falling off the boards, but just falling down multiple spots here after his pro day, pro combine. The first one is going to be my own Minnesota. It's going to be Rashod Bateman. And the reason for it is if you watch, so we're going to go kind of through two different things, analytics and tape. If you watch, first of all, the tape, he looks like a tier 1 wide receiver. He looks just as good as quote unquote, Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase, which is high praise. And I know people might just start bashing me on here right now because they're like, oh, he's not Jamar Chase, he's not Devontae Smith. He is in that tier. He is as talented. It is impressive how, if you watch his tape, of how good he actually truly is and how well he dominated. If we look at his stats, well, first of all, let's go through his height and weight because I know there's a discrepancy. He was 6'2", 210 listed in Minnesota. Apparently, I'm 5'11" then because I guess I'm just going to give myself 2 inches. He's 6 feet 190 is what he actually truly is. So that he does get a little bit smaller when they did the pro combine. But in 2019, he had 60 catches for 1,219 yards and 11 touchdowns. 2020 was a mess. He only had 5 games, but he had almost 500 yards and he had a couple touchdowns. So when we look at those stats, I mean, stats are one thing, but if you look at his tape, you could see that he was a traditional X wide receiver. He was really good at slants. He was really good at fades. He had a decent route tree development. He was exceptional. He had decent speed. One of his things is how fast is he though? Maybe he doesn't have top end speed, and we'll get to that. Another thing that we were looking at is really, well, how does he fit into like these RPO schemes and stuff like that? And he is really good at run blocking and being very deceptive with his routes. So one of those things is you want to be able to get separation, and he is actually good with separation. He does get a little physical on the separation side. If you look at like kind of the route tree of being a good route runner, you have Jamar Chase, who uses a ton of strength for separation, and you have Devontae Smith, who just is amazing at route running. Rashod Bateman lies kind of in between. He uses a little bit of both. He's not elite at either one, but he does get open, and that's all that you care about is he gets open. You want him to get open. His speed, though, 4.39, which was faster than I thought his film looked. I thought his film was like a mid 4.4, maybe a high 4.4 guy, so like a 4.47, 4.48. Even looking at some of these other wide receivers, these pro days times are, you almost have to like take a tenth and just add it on to these because I mean some of these times are a little questionable. But if you look at his dominator rating, 43.7, his breakout age, 18.8. So these are some of the analytics. So if you watch the video, there's all 22 film, there's Dynasty Nerds film that you can watch. Film of each and every play. It'll show that he is a exceptional player. And then now you look at some of the analytics that you look at trying to figure out, well, which wide receivers are going to be good at the next level. And you look at some of these like breakout ages and analytics of a dominator and all these different like little tools and his speed and all these different things. I mean, he shows that he's good analytically and he's good on tape, which I think him being lower than wide receiver 3, lower than wide receiver 4 is a problem to me. I think him, Waddle, Chase, and Devontae Smith are good, solid 4. I think Moore is starting to slowly slip down in my rankings, just because, again, 5'7", we have some issues with his height. He had a 42.5-inch vertical. He had this crazy 40 time under 4.3. But I mean, ultimately, can that go into the NFL? Bateman is a transitional to the NFL. He's a great type of wide receiver to that. My biggest comparison was Kenny Golladay, but just a smaller version of Kenny Golladay. He's not 6'4". He's not going to be 220 pounds like Kenny Golladay. He's going to be 6 feet, 200 pounds probably, right around the NFL level. The thing I always have to say to people, though, is destination. Where are their landing spots? if one of these two wide receivers I'm talking about today goes to a Ravens, goes to the Patriots, I'm not going to be super excited. And they're probably going to start moving down the rankings. But Bateman is my wide receiver 3, and it's pretty easily set in stone right now until a landing spot hits. I don't care that he dropped 1.5 inches, 2 inches. His stats, his analytics say that he should be wide receiver 3. In fact, if Devontae Smith didn't have an amazing year, there's definitely argument to had if he didn't have his Heisman type year that Bateman would even be number 2 or even the number 1 wide receiver competing with Jamar Chase. These guys are all foundationally strong right with each other. And then Jalen Waddle and then Rondale Moore right after that. But let's get to my wide receivers. Number 6, he is moving up the boards, and it's just because watching more and more tape of him, you start to fall in love with these players. You start to look at these players and go, wow, like this player just keeps doing things better and better and better, and you just keep watching him, and you're like, you fight in these little nuances, and you're like, man, what? And then you go into the stats, and you go, wow, the stats actually back it up. So it's Elijah Moore. He is moved up to my wide receiver, number 6. He is the Tyler Lockett type, so he's a smaller guy. I mean, we're talking 5'9", 178. Again, 2 top wide receivers are going to be under like 180, maybe 180 pounds. So it's just crazy. But he had a 4.35 yard, 40-yard dash. So he's blazing fast. And he does have a little Antonio Brown-esque to him, which I really love. We look at dominator rating, over 45%. We look at his breakout age, 19.4. Again, really good, solid things that we want to see. We want to see 19, 18-year-olds, kind of how Rondale Moore is into that breakout age too. But we want to see those breakout ages. We want to see these players that perform young against 21-year-olds. 18 and 19-year-olds against 21-year-olds is what we like to see. It's kind of like in hockey. When you get these like 16-year-old hockey players playing against 18, 19-year-old hockey players, that is what you want. Again, we are looking at a guy who had 86 receptions on 1,193 yards and 8 touchdowns in 8 games. Ultimately, just an amazing stats. And then if you watch his tape backs it up. Where he's going to be at the next level is going to be interesting. I think he's going to be a really good kind of slot-ish wide receiver, but I think slot wide receivers can perform. When you look at CeeDee Lamb, who directly performed in the slot, you could see Elijah Moore going to a Kansas City, a Green Bay, and just fitting in perfectly with one of those situations. He could also go to a Baltimore, and yeah, that would be frustrating. And I always say Baltimore because that's just the worst situation you can possibly be in. But I think really Elijah Moore, if you watch the tape, which I have been lately, and it's just like everything I start going, okay, him versus Amon-Ra St. Brown, or him versus Tylan Wallace, or him versus Terrace Marshall. And I look and I'm just like, well, Elijah Moore just keeps creeping up. It's like you're kind of doing this like boxing match of who would you rather have, and it just keeps creeping up that Elijah Moore is just starting to win me over more and more and more. So he is my wide receiver number 6. And honestly, if he has a good spot and Rondale Moore maybe doesn't have an amazing spot, they could easily switch too. And Elijah Moore could be into that top 5 wide receiver, which is something where he started like maybe like 2 months ago, he's like wide receiver 10, and he's just slowly moving up, which happens. You start getting more into tape, more into analytics. You have to continue to do research. You can't just stop in January and be like, I'm done. These are my rankings. I'm done. So this is again Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. We do daily Dynasty videos. Here's a Jerry Judy signed jersey. All you have to do is be a subscriber for a chance to win. When we hit 1K, we'll give it to one of you guys. Peace out. See you tomorrow.
Now turn up.